With FSU Georgia Tech kicking off in Ireland just a month away, I think it's just the right time to start going through FSU 2024 predictions. FSU is coming in having lost quarterback Jordan Travis and with the pain of having to remember being snubbed from last year's playoffs. So, what does that mean for 2024? Well, I'm going to be going through every game of the 2024 season and predicting it based on how I think this FSU team will do. Here we go. Let's get into it. FSU finished last season with a top 10 ranking that was marred by a snub from the college football playoff that left fans confused and angry. What did they do this year to recover, though? Well, they built up their team, bringing in the number 13 ranked recruiting class and the number 7 transfer class. Additionally, they have an easy schedule, only facing 2 or maybe 3 of the preseason top 25 teams, with Clemson, Notre Dame, and maybe Miami. However, that doesn't mean that everything's going to be easy for them. They lack a lot of receiver depth, having lost Keon Coleman and Johnny Wilson, 2 pieces that are almost impossible to replace, alongside Jaheim Bell, their starting tight end. But the biggest loss of the offseason, X-Factor quarterback Jordan Travis, who finished 5th in Heisman voting and had the intangibles needed to keep that team undefeated throughout the entire season last year. While they do bring in transfer quarterback DJ Uiagalelei, the stats show that it's not going to be a seamless transition. Travis finished last year with 275 passing yards a game to DJ's 220. But enough talk. Let's actually get into these games. Starting off with Georgia Tech. FSU plays Georgia Tech September 24th in Ireland. And as I said, I think this FSU team is going to come in with a fire, ready to prove themselves after they feel disrespected last year. With that being said, I have FSU taking this game decisively in a 27-13 finish. Moving on to week 2, we have the home opener against Boston College. I expect the crowd to be fired up, and I expect this to be a pretty easy game with FSU winning 35-20. Moving on from that, we play Memphis. Now, Memphis is an interesting game because Memphis is where Mike Norvell used to coach. I do think it will be a little bit emotional for him, even though most of the players he coached are gone by now. But I do expect FSU to take this 28-21. In week 4, FSU hosts Cal. Now, I'm not going to lie. I don't know a lot about Cal. And I'm also not going to lie by saying I don't care to know a lot about Cal. FSU 35-10. After that, in week 5, it is the first true road game played at SMU. First road games are always tough, and so I do think this is going to be a tougher than advertised game going down to the wire, even though I do have FSU taking it 28-27. Following that, in week 6, FSU returns home to take on who I believe will be their first top 25 matchup of the year at home against Clemson. Now, if you remember from last year, FSU Clemson went down to the wire going into overtime before FSU ultimately won. I do not see that same fate happening this year, despite Clemson returning starting quarterback Cade Kubnik, and this being DJ Uiagalelei's return to Clemson. I do have FSU taking this 35-20 in more of a beatdown. Week 7, FSU traveled to Duke to face the Blue Devils. And while they lost starting quarterback Riley Leonard to Notre Dame, I don't think this will be much of a problem, with FSU handling this 21-3. The following week, they travel to Miami, who have brought in start quarterback Cameron Ward from the transfer portal and look to be a much better team this year. While I do think this will be a tough game, I do have FSU taking this in a nail-biter 21-20. Week 9 is when I think FSU runs out of steam, where I have them taking their first loss to North Carolina in a 17-24 upset. However, I do think this is because they were looking ahead to next week when they face off at Notre Dame, who I think will be top 10 ranked and a tough team ready to go. As they travel to face Notre Dame on the road, coming off of a loss against North Carolina, I see them winning that game 27-21. As they round the bend to the end of their schedule, FSU takes on Charleston Southern, who I have them beating pretty handedly 56-14 in a final tune-up before facing Florida. Florida, who has the toughest schedule in all of college football, and I honestly don't foresee doing very well throughout it. Which is why I have FSU taking their finale against Florida 28-17. And that's it. That's FSU's entire schedule. If you have any disagreements, anything you want to talk about it related to it, feel free to leave that in the comments below. And if there's any other questions you have, just put them down there as well. As always, I'm Caleb. Thanks for watching.